Hello my friends, all over the world, wherever you are. Greetings from sunny Southern California on this beautiful spring day. William Poloniak here with Whole Health Foundation. In this juice formula, I'm using about 60 to 80% carrots, Swiss chard greens, collard greens, dandelion greens, ginger, and garlic. And let's start the juicing now with dandelion greens. We'll set the ginger and garlic aside for now. The first thing I'm going to do is feed in 3 ice cubes to cool down the cutter. I want the cutter to be cool. Now I'm going to point out I'm catching the ice and recycle it up here to cool down the cutter a little bit more. And the reason I'm putting ice in, not more than 3 ice cubes, because I don't want to make slush, I just want to cool the cutter. So I'll start with dandelion greens. And the first thing I'm going to do is use the J grid for juicing, because it does a better job on greens. We'll start with dandelion greens. I want to point out that I'm using the new wooden pusher that has a tapered design, and that prevents the wood from swelling. A good idea is to use carrots from time to time in between greens. Now we'll put some collard greens in. Now we'll put some Swiss chard in. Check your wing nuts every so often to make sure they're tight. Add 3 ice cubes every so often. And from time to time, stop the juicer, pull out your grid and clean it. Ginger is very fibrous, and so are greens. And again, I want to point out you're not going to be slicing and accidentally hitting your fingers, even though you've got gloves on to protect you. You want to angle your knife so you're just scraping off, not cutting off. And put your grid back in. Start the juicer up and feed in some more greens. Then I'm going to stop the machine and start using the number 2 grid, which is better for carrots. So we'll clean the J grid, set it aside. We'll clean this later. And we'll put in the number 2 grid and start with our carrots. 2 hands is better. You want to keep your posture erect. Watch your temperature gauge and feed in 3 ice cubes from time to time. You want to keep that heat tube cool so you preserve your nutrients. There's no point in making juice and having heat destroy your nutrients, especially with the price of produce these days. Temperature gauge. And remember, when you're down to your last carrots and your last produce, put in some pulp and force the last bit of produce through the heat tube. Maybe do that more than once. In this video clip, I'm going to demonstrate that you can leave the press on a Whole Health Foundation premium juicer, not a Norwalk juicer. Back it off a little bit. You can leave the press up at full pressure for longer than 20 seconds. Now we have the second hand on the clock at exactly 10 minutes to 4. So we'll leave this going. Let's leave it up for a minute just to demonstrate how strong the upper upper press plate and the bottom press plate is. Now in the Whole Health Foundation Premium Juicer, we use a different method to attach the post to the bottom and top plate, but we're going to keep that secret for now. We don't want anybody stealing our ideas. So there we are at 30 seconds. And you notice we're still getting a flow of juice. Now it's really not necessary to leave the press up for longer than, half a minute or so. But if you had something like grapes, which is very hard to extract juice from, you might want to leave it up for a minute. And there we are at a full minute now. And you'll notice now the flow is down to dripping drops. So we're at a minute and 10 seconds. Let's back that off. Put in another set of cloths, and while I fill up the next set of cloths, you're going to notice that the press is going to stay up longer than 20 seconds. Now I notice that my jar is almost full, so I'm going to back that off and point out another tip. If your jar is full, don't get distracted because your juice is going to go on your countertop. Tilt your juice tray back, but make it obvious that it's not centered, because if you put it back just a little bit and forget, you're going to damage your press plate and your juice tray. So lift it up, push it back so it's very, very obvious that the juicer juice tray is not centered properly. Now I'm going to go and fill up my bottles. Now I'm taking the juice formula that I just made, and I'm going to fill my bottles to leave about 7% for filtered water. I use distilled water, but filtered water or distilled water. I find the juice a little bit too sweet and too concentrated, so I fill my bottles up to almost the top, and then I add about 7-8% filtered water. Now I personally use distilled water, but you can use filtered water, especially if you're going to drink it right away. I suppose if you don't have a water filter, you could even use tap water, drinkable water. Now you can see it's obvious the tray is not centered, so I'm going to pull it in centered properly, advance the lever, start juicing, and then I'm going to juice the rest of the pulp. And we'll just throw this pulp away and then wash the cloths. I hope you like what you've seen in this video, and I hope you learned more about the advantages of a Whole Health Foundation Premium Juicer. If you'd like to contact me, my phone number is 760-753-0321. The best time to reach me is anytime after 12 noon Pacific Standard Time. My email address is developtrust@cox.net, and my webpage is wholehealthfound.com. I'll see you in the next video.